First, Sonder. You're sitting in traffic at a red light. Rain slides down the windshield. Your turn signal clicks. The car beside you is close enough that you can see the driver clearly. He is tapping the steering wheel, staring straight ahead like he has somewhere important to be. In the back seat, there is a kid in a soccer jersey eating fries out of a paper bag. Behind them, a woman in an SUV is talking with one hand raised, like the person on the phone can somehow see her frustration. And suddenly, a strange thought hits you. Every person in every car around you has a whole life you will never see. The man tapping the steering wheel might be driving to a hospital. The kid in the back seat might be nervous about a game tonight. The woman on the phone might be trying not to cry before she gets home. Their lives are not background traffic. They are just as vivid, complicated, embarrassing, painful, and private as yours. And from this point of view, you are just the stranger in the next lane. That feeling is called Sonder. It is not just realizing there are a lot of people in the world. It is realizing that every single one of them is living from the center of their own universe. John Koenig wrote about this word in The Dictionary of Obscure Sorrows. He described it as the sudden awareness that each random passerby is living a life as rich and complex as your own. That is why Sonder feels beautiful and uncomfortable at the same time. It makes you feel connected to everyone, and weirdly invisible to everyone. Second, Hiraeth. Imagine driving through the neighborhood where you grew up. You turn onto a street you haven't seen in years. The houses are smaller than you remember. The old corner store is now a pharmacy. The empty lot where you used to ride bikes has been turned into condos. Then you pass the house where your grandparents used to live. Except the porch is different now. The screen door is gone. The big tree in the front yard was cut down. There is a new family's car in the driveway. But for 1 second, your body remembers the old version. You can smell the carpet. You can hear the TV playing in the living room. You can see cookies on the kitchen counter. You can hear someone calling your name from another room. You want to go back. But the place you want to return to does not exist anymore. Not physically. Not in time. That feeling is called Hiraeth. It is a Welsh word often described as a deep longing for a home you can't return to. But it is not exactly nostalgia. Nostalgia is missing the past. Hiraeth is homesickness for somewhere you cannot reach. Sometimes it is a place that changed. Sometimes it is a place your family left before you were old enough to understand it. Sometimes it is a version of life that only exists in photos, stories, and the way people used to say your name. A place can disappear. And somehow, you can still miss it. Third, Limerence. You're sitting in the back of a college lecture hall. 3 rows ahead, near the aisle, there is someone you cannot stop noticing. The professor is explaining something that will probably be on the exam. You are not hearing any of it. Because that person just smiled at something on their laptop, and your brain treats it like a major event. You replay the way they looked at you outside the library yesterday. You check whether they watched your story. You see them online but not replying, and suddenly your stomach tightens. They laugh with someone else, and your whole mood changes. This does not feel like simply liking someone. It feels like you no longer know how to not think about them. That feeling is called limerence. The psychologist Dorothy Tenov used the term in her 1979 book, Love and Limerence. She studied people who were not just attracted to someone, but mentally taken over by them. The difference between a crush and limerence is control. A crush can be sweet. Limerence invades. You open a textbook, and they appear. You laugh with friends, and they appear. You wake up at 3 a.m., and they are the first thought in your head. Tenov called this intrusive thinking. The thought does not wait to be invited. It breaks in. And the strangest part is that limerence often fades once you feel completely certain the other person likes you back. Because the fuel is not love. It is uncertainty. Fourth, Kenopsia. Imagine walking through an empty shopping mall on a weekday morning. Most stores are still closed. The lights are on, but barely anyone is there. A vending machine hums by itself. A janitor pushes a mop bucket across the tile. The food court chairs are stacked on tables. A children's ride glows silently in the middle of the hallway, waiting for a kid who isn't there. And the strange thing is, it does not just feel quiet, it feels like the noise was removed. Like the building is still shaped around crowds that vanished. You can almost hear the missing sounds. Teenagers laughing near the escalator, kids begging for pretzels, cash registers beeping, music leaking out of stores. That feeling is called Kenopsia. It is the eerie atmosphere of a place that is usually full of life, but is now empty. Not empty like a field. Empty like an airport gate at 2 a.m. Empty like a school hallway during summer. Empty like an office floor on a Sunday night. Empty like a restaurant after closing when the glasses are still on the tables. During lockdown, a lot of people saw this feeling everywhere. Empty stadiums, empty downtown streets, empty classrooms. The absence became visible, not because nothing was there, but because something was supposed to be. Fifth, Chrysalism. It is storming outside, not a soft rain, a real storm. The kind that makes the windows shake and turns the streetlights blurry. You are lying in bed under a blanket. Your room is dark except for the weak glow of your phone. Somewhere outside, a car drives through a puddle. Somewhere in the building, a neighbor closes a cabinet. You cannot see anyone. But the small sounds of other people existing nearby make you feel less alone. Outside, the world sounds cold and violent. Inside, nothing is expected of you. The storm makes the walls feel thicker. The blanket feels heavier. The room feels like a shelter. That feeling is called Chrysalism. The word comes from chrysalis, the protective shell around a transforming butterfly. John Koenig described it as the amniotic tranquility of being indoors during a thunderstorm. English already has words like cozy, but chrysalism is more specific. It is cozy because the outside is not. The rain matters. The wind matters. The noise beyond the window matters. The comfort only exists because something rough is happening outside. The storm proves that your quiet room is safe. Sixth, Vellichor. You are inside a used bookstore in an old part of town. Not a clean bookstore with bright lights and perfect shelves. A narrow one. The kind where the aisles are too tight, the floor creaks, and half the books look like they were placed there by accident. Old paperbacks are stacked under the table. Sunlight comes through the front window and turns the dust in the air gold. You pull out a random book. Inside the cover, someone wrote a note in blue ink. June 1987. For Michael. Don't forget this summer. You do not know Michael. You do not know who wrote it. You do not know whether they stayed friends, fell in love, drifted apart, or forgot each other completely. But the book is in your hands now, and the life it passed through before reaching you is not yours. That feeling is called Vellichor. It is the strange wistfulness of used bookstores, the feeling that other people's lives are somehow trapped in the pages. A big bookstore chain does not always create it. Everything is too clean, too organized, too new. Vellichor needs dust, old price stickers, yellowed pages, a receipt from 2003 used as a bookmark, someone else's underlined sentence still sitting there on page 143. Every used book feels like it survived a private history you will never fully know. Seventh, Monachopsis. You're at a party where you technically know people, not strangers, not close friends either. The room is loud. Someone is telling a story too confidently. Someone else is explaining a show you have never watched. A group near the kitchen is laughing at something that happened before you walked over. You are holding a drink you do not really want. You smile at the right time. You nod at the right time. You do a decent impression of a person who belongs there. But inside, something feels slightly off. You do not hate these people. You are not even having a terrible time. You just feel like a puzzle piece pressed into the wrong box. That feeling is called Monachopsis. It is the subtle but persistent sense of being out of place. Not dramatic, not enough to make you leave. Just enough to make your own body feel awkward. Koenig once compared it to a seal on a beach. In the water, a seal is graceful. On land, it looks like it has no idea what to do with itself. That is Monachopsis. The feeling that somewhere there is an environment where you would move naturally. But this is not it. And sometimes you feel it most clearly when you are surrounded by people. Eighth, Mauerbauertraurigkeit. It is 1 a.m. You are lying in bed with your phone in your hand. There is a text from a close friend. Hey, how have you been? It has been sitting there for 3 days. Not because you dislike them, not because you forgot, not because you have nothing to say. Actually, it is the opposite. You care enough that a lazy reply feels wrong. You want to answer properly. You want to be warm, funny, present, and real. But you do not have the energy to let another person into your mind tonight. So you do nothing. You build a wall. Then you sit alone behind the wall you built. That feeling is called Mauerbauertraurigkeit. It means something like the sadness of a wall builder. The sadness of pushing people away, even when you want connection. It is not just being introverted. The painful part is that the people you push away are often the people you love most. Because close relationships require more of you. More honesty, more attention, more emotional energy. That is the paradox. You are lonely. But connection feels exhausting. So you protect yourself by making yourself lonelier. Ninth, Anemoia. Imagine watching old footage of a decade you never lived in. A 1980s mall on a Friday night. Neon signs. Arcade machines. A record store playing music through cheap speakers. Teenagers leaning against the railing in denim jackets. A movie theater with posters for films that are now considered classics. You were not there. Maybe you were not even born. But somehow, the scene makes you ache. You miss it. Which makes no sense. How can you miss a time that never belonged to you? That feeling is called anemoia. It means nostalgia for a time you never personally experienced. The word comes from anemos, the Greek word for wind. And that fits, because the feeling moves through you like weather from somewhere else. You see it in people romanticizing the 90s, in Y2K fashion, in VHS filters, in retro diners, in vinyl records, in playlists full of songs released before you were alive. The memories are borrowed, but the longing feels real. Culture can hand you someone else's past until your brain starts treating it like a place you lost. 10th, Occhiolism. Look up. Imagine lying at a campsite far enough from the city that the sky finally looks alive. There are so many stars that it becomes hard to focus on one. So you choose a single point of light. Then you remember that it is not just a point, it is a sun. Maybe with planets around it. Maybe with moons around those planets. Maybe with something looking back from somewhere you will never reach. Then you remember that our galaxy has hundreds of billions of stars, and that scientists estimate there may be around 2 trillion galaxies in the observable universe. Every problem you have ever had is happening on one small planet, around one ordinary star, inside one galaxy, among more galaxies than your brain can hold. That feeling is called Occhiolism. It is the awareness of the smallness of your perspective. Not just feeling small, realizing that your entire view of reality is tiny. But the feeling is not only depressing, there is freedom in it too. Because if your life is small, then maybe your mistakes are smaller than they feel. Your embarrassment is smaller. Your failures are smaller. The thing you said 5 years ago that still makes you cringe at midnight is also smaller. Sometimes the universe does not make you feel meaningless. Sometimes it lets you breathe. 11th, Onism. You are standing at a fork in your life. Maybe you are deciding whether to move to a new city or stay where you are, whether to take the stable job or the risky one, whether to marry someone, leave someone, go back to school, start over, or keep going. Whatever you choose, one fact stays the same. You only have one body, one timeline, one version of yourself that gets to move forward. So the moment you choose one life, every other possible life becomes something you will never know from the inside. That feeling is called Onism. It is the frustration of being stuck in just one body, in just one place, at just one point in time. All the countries you will never visit, all the languages you will never learn, all the people you will never meet, all the careers, cities, apartments, friendships, and versions of yourself you will never get to live. The internet made this feeling worse, because now you can see, every single day, the lives you are not living. Someone is backpacking through Europe, someone is getting married, someone is starting a company. Someone is living in a cabin in the mountains. Someone is doing exactly the thing you wonder if you should have done. The more you see of the world, the more you realize how little of it one person can actually touch. That is Onism. The grief of having only one life. But naming the feeling helps. Because once an emotion has a name, it stops feeling like something only you are carrying. It becomes part of the human vocabulary, something other people have felt too. So if one of these words stayed with you, write it down. Because sometimes the loneliest feelings become a little less lonely the moment they finally have a name.